This very brief, Mr. Chairman. Sanjay Gupta, you mentioned earlier. I think he's a Facebook friend of mine, so I'm going to have to message him on this one. But if you had a child who had epilepsy and was seizing hundreds of times a day, are you really going to care about any cognitive issues that may occur down the road with the use of marijuana? And I'm going to keep going. You can answer at the end. If you have a child who's terminally ill with cancer, do you think that parent's really going to care about cognitive issues that may arise down the road? Go ahead.
Our concern is what happens to young people today in the mainstream. Again, I'm not a doctor or medical researcher. Those other questions belong in the medical side. I'm worried about getting people involved in drugs and alcohol at younger and younger ages. That's why we were out stomping on your doors on the prescription drug monitoring. I hope it would also be included in the prescription drug monitoring if you go forward and enact something, as I think we have to make sure there's no diversion. That's handled by medical people.
I totally agree with all that.
Good.
But
I'm not a doctor.
I know you're not a doctor, but okay, do you have children?
I'm sorry?
You have children?
Hey, I do not, and I'm an admirer of
Okay.
Dr. Gum.
Well, okay. Let's just. I'm asking
He
you.
had family members that had some issues.
Okay, but if someone was suffering, would you really be concerned if suffering like on their deathbed or really sick?
I'm going to come back. I think that's a different question, and I think medical research has to respond to that, and you and your own conscience and me and mine have to respond to that. I know what I would do, but I think that's my business.
Okay.
But I also think we've got to avoid getting kids hooked at the front end, and that's why we're urging. My concern here is around young people. Do this narrowly. If you're going to do this narrowly and control it.
Can a child who has terminal cancer become hooked?
I'm sorry?
Can a child who has terminal cancer become hooked?
It goes back to your other question. At that point, who cares? If you're in a hospice and dying, I think there are some, again, I think you need to narrowly, I'm not going to do your job for you. I think you have to narrowly construct the bill to handle those questions, and I think you're up to it. I think the hearings really are laying this out, so you're going to be thinking about things like hospice. I would pray that you're thinking about things like hospice.
Thank you so much for your testimony.